Hey everyone, and welcome to episode 47 of Piv's NXT Point of View podcast. My name is Bill Pivots. Before we get started, if you want, follow me on Twitter at bpiv_sports. Rate, review the podcast on iTunes, Podbean. It's also now posted on YouTube as well. So please, wherever you guys can check it out, that'd be greatly appreciated. So this week was a little bit of a filler episode this week. Really nothing major happened. We had a few matches. Some were good, some were a little boring to me at least. But let's get started. We were advertised in advance Samoa Joe versus Johnny Gargano for the main event. The show began with some huge NXT chants, and then Sami Zayn made his entrance. He kicked off the show against Adam Rose. Zayn focused on the left arm a little bit. Rose took control with a shot to the throat, and then he wore him down with some elbow drops and reverse chin locks. Zayn went to the top, but Rose crotched him and then landed a falling headbutt. A little later, Zayn hit an STO and then rolled into the Koji clutch to get the win. That's pretty much all there was. There wasn't really anything much that you missed. Very one-sided match, and that'll be the theme throughout this week's episode. Considering we have the triple threat match next week between Sami Zayn, Baron Corbin, and Samoa Joe. And it was just really hard to get invested in this match because you knew the outcome. If it was someone a little higher up on the card and not someone made out to be a joke like Adam Rose is, I probably would care a little bit, but I really couldn't care less. Alex Reyes, I believe, or Rich Brennan, I really can't tell these two apart, interviewed Johnny Gargano about his recent success with Tommaso Ciampa and also his match with Samoa Joe later in the night. He called Samoa Joe a schoolhouse bully and that you handle him by walking up to him and punching him straight in the mouth. We also got word that Bayley and Carmella would take on Alexa Bliss and Emma later on. Jason Jordan and Chad Gable cut a promo about not being nominated for Tag Team of the Year, but they then focused on Blake and Murphy and challenged them to a match next week. They then listed each other's accolades and accomplishments, and then they were going over potential team names and landed on American Alpha, or Alphas. I'm not sure they actually mentioned both. I do like the team name of American Alpha, and the one thing that I note that I've seen build week after week is that the chemistry between these two, especially on camera in promos like these, they play off each other so well, and it's very entertaining to see. They got the comparison early to Charlie Haas and Shelton Benjamin, but these two are so much more entertaining than those two ever were. Second match was Apollo Crews versus Ty Dillinger. This match started out very much the same as the first match with some mat wrestling, rest holds, and the same old stuff. Crews caught Ty with a nice dropkick off the ropes. He then countered a suplex into his own. Ty tried escaping with some knees, but Crews just held him up there for a very long time before slamming him down. Dillinger recovered and landed a dive through the second rope. He then hit the perfect 10 face breaker, but got a nice 2 count. Crews came back with a double leg takedown and a big boot before his spinning sit-out powerbomb. After the match, Crews cut a promo, said he's not a fan of DQ endings in matches and wants to finish what he started a few months ago. He said he knows he's not in line for a title match, but he wants a non-title match against Finn Balor. And this was just another match I really couldn't get into. Just very one-sided. Apollo Crews is on the up and up, gaining momentum, becoming a top star in NXT. And you obviously weren't going to see Ty Dillinger win unless they were going to book a surprise win to bring up Ty Dillinger to the next level. But that's obviously not the case right now. Blake, Murphy, and Alexa were backstage. They were talking to each other as Alex just waited next to them to talk to them. Alexa said that she was embarrassed by their performance in London and said she's going to lead by example by defeating Bayley and Carmella. The Vaudevillains music played, and it kind of faded out and wrapped up had an evil tone to it as to signify that they're turning heel, which I think they could pull it off. They tried it once, but they were still getting cheers, so they kind of reverted them back to baby faces. But I think this won't stick, considering the heel side of the tag division is a little lopsided. I think Blake and Murphy are kind of on the bottom of the totem pole, and then Dash and Dawson. So having the Vaudevillains as that second team, or third, depending where you slot Blake and Murphy, will definitely put some balance into the tag division, because you have Enzo and Cass, Jason Jordan, Chad Gable, I guess the Hype Bros. I'm trying to think of another team. I think that's all that I can think of right now. Trying to think back to the Dusty Classic tournament. I think that's about it, but having the Vaudevillains on that side will make for some interesting matchups as well. So I like the direction of the heel turn. Tom Phillips and Corey Graves recap the NXT tour of the Midwest and Kevin Owens' surprise appearance on one of the shows, confronting Sami Zayn. Third match, Baron Corbin versus Rich Swan. My first thought was, are we going to have 3 boring matches in a row? Yeah. I was right on that one. Swan apparently is a top-known indie star. I've never heard of him. Then again, I'm not really caught up on the indies. Swan landed some nice kicks before Corbin used his size to take him down. Corbin then caught Swan off the ropes and flipped him over his head, and he went about 450 degrees and landed right on his face. Swan took Corbin down with a leg scissors and then connected with 2 drop kicks and a nice spin kick with a nice near fall. Swan went to the top, but Corbin ducked whatever he was going for and hit the deep 6 spinning side slam to get the win. Rich then interviewed Carmella and Bayley. He started with Carmella, asking about winning the Battle Royal and her shot at the title, and then they focused on the tag match later tonight. As Bayley was talking, Dash and Dawson interrupted. They congratulated Carmella about winning the tournament, but she's going to be just like Enzo and Cass and not be able to win the big one. Carmella went after them, but Bayley held her back and calmed her down a little bit. Fourth match was the women's tag match, Emma and Alexa Bliss versus Carmella and Bayley. The heels beat up Bayley before the bell rang and shoved Carmella to the outside. Carmella came back in, broke it up, and Bayley and Emma started the match. The heels wore down Bayley in their corner, frequent tags keeping her isolated from Carmella. Bayley created a little bit of space with a back elbow off the second rope onto Alexa. Emma was tagged in and took out Carmella before Bayley can reach her. Bayley then tried making a comeback with a couple forearm smashes and a shoulder tackle in the corner. Alexa pulled Bayley down and Emma hit the Emma Mite sandwich. Bayley was finally able to break free and tagged in Carmella, who took down Alexa Bliss. She then landed a nice head scissors and a Bronco Buster. She tossed Emma out of the ring and took Alexa Bliss down with an STO and leg scissors submission and made Alexa Bliss tap. Having the heels wear down Bayley early made for a really good dynamic because Bayley's been known as the underdog, the comeback queen. That's actually my nickname for her, I guess. But just seeing her in that, what's the word I'm looking for, that resilient role. And then they also made Carmella look strong, getting the hot tag, having her take out both heels. It actually made sense to do it that way because she is the challenger for the NXT Women's Championship. So having her built up to be able to defeat 2 of the top heels, it makes sense leading to the eventual title match. After that, Alex Reyes caught up with Finn Balor, and he brought up Cruz's comments later in the show. He said that he spoke to Regal, and then Cruz will get his wish. I don't think they mentioned a date when it will happen, but they're actually going to have the match non-title, but you'll see the conclusion, or at least a full match of Finn Balor against Apollo Crews. And the 5th and final match of the show, Johnny Gargano versus Samoa Joe. Joe's hair was actually getting a little poofy that I noticed. It wasn't as clean cut as it usually is. And Gargano and Joe actually had matching attire. They both had the black and yellow combination going on. Back to the match. Joe had the advantage early. Gargano went after him, but Joe quickly halted him with a nice running takedown. Joe went to the outside to catch his breath. Johnny went for a kick. He went for a kick standing on the apron like a soccer kick, but Joe actually tripped him up and kicked his legs out from under him. Joe then hit a nice elbow smash and jump kick in the corner. He then sent Gargano flying to the outside, and Gargano almost barely made it into the ring in time for the 10 count. Gargano made a comeback. He landed nice 2 kicks and a springboard DDT from the outside. He went to launch himself through the ropes, but Joe caught him with a kick right in front of the face and took him down with a coquina clutch to get the win. Of the 4 squash matches, this is probably the best one because Gargano played the babyface role quite nicely with his couple hope spots, especially after that DDT. People thought he was going to start building momentum to get down Samoa Joe. But Joe, obviously they're building him up for the triple threat match, just like the other 2, was going to come out and get the win. As far as the night, very straightforward. There was really no storyline advancement. I mean, I guess a little bit with Dash and Dawson and Enzo and Cass, how they confronted Carmella. But that was the only thing. You had Jason Jordan, Chad Gable challenge Blake and Murphy, and then that's about it. I mean, there was really no storyline advancement. You had the three contenders for the NXT title win their matches handedly. You had the women's champion and the challenger win their tag team match, not tag team titles. So it was just very straightforward and cut and dry of what the matches were and who was going to win. So if you did miss this week, it wasn't a total loss as far as what you missed out on. There was really nothing exciting that happened this week. As for next week, we do get the triple threat match between Sami Zayn, Baron Corbin, and Samoa Joe to determine the number 1 contender for the NXT title. So, for those of you on the East Coast right now listening, I do want you to stay safe. We do have that blizzard coming in, so if you don't have the drive, please stay in. Make sure you're not driving out in this weather because that snow and the very low visibility can make for some dangerous conditions. So just make sure that if you're driving, it's for important reasons, not because you need to go out, grab a TV, or do some meaningless shopping. So just make sure you do it all before it gets really bad out there. I know it's already snowing in D.C. and Maryland area. For those of you Jersey, like I am, up north, New York, just make sure you're prepared for the storm. But other than that, that was episode 47. I'll be back next week with episode 48. Peace.